Have you ever caught yourself pausing to wonder what really happens when we take our final breath? And what if the key to living more freely, more meaningfully, lies hidden in that very moment most of us spend our days trying not to think about? Today, we'll explore 4 powerful insights about death, 4 perspectives that just might reshape how you approach everything, from relationships and goals to the simple joys you tend to overlook. If you allow these ideas to open your mind, you could discover a renewed sense of purpose that makes life richer than you ever imagined. Let's begin with a question that many people ask at some point, but rarely confront head-on. Are we truly ready to face the end, or do we live as though we'll never run out of time? We hustle through our routines, set short-term milestones, and tell ourselves we'll handle the big stuff later. But that unspoken latter is precisely where our deepest anxieties about mortality hide. By turning toward those anxieties, we have the chance to spark a transformation in our day-to-day lives. Less fear, deeper connection, and a clearer vision of what matters most. Think about a personal loss you've experienced. A relative, a friend, maybe even a pet that meant the world to you. That hollow ache can be overwhelming. Yet in the depths of grief, some people sense an unexplainable continuing bond, a kind of emotional thread, linking them to the person they lost. It often shows up in subtle ways. A scent in the air, a dream that feels extraordinarily vivid, or an unexpected surge of memories that show up on an ordinary afternoon. Initially, you might dismiss these moments as coincidences or just wishful thinking. But in many cultures around the world, it's perfectly natural to see them as connections that outlast the physical presence of a loved one. This is the first insight, recognizing that some bonds don't necessarily end when life does. Psychologists sometimes call this continuing bonds, emphasizing that people can remain connected to the deceased in a healthy, life-affirming way. Rather than telling the bereaved to move on, this approach embraces a more nuanced reality. Love often transcends a heartbeat. Throughout my own life, there have been times when I felt the closeness of someone I'd lost, as though they were quietly cheering me on or reminding me of a shared moment. These instances taught me that our emotional landscape can expand beyond what we usually regard as rational. Across diverse traditions, Japanese festivals dedicated to ancestors, the Mexican Dia de los Muertos, or the lighting of candles in various spiritual practices, people honor those who have passed with a sense of reverence, not finality. This perspective can transform grief into a meaningful tribute, where the memory of the person becomes woven into daily rituals and reflections. Suddenly, what seemed like a permanent goodbye can feel more like a shift in how the relationship continues. If you've ever felt such a presence, ask yourself, does it comfort you? Does it offer guidance or reflection? For many, acknowledging these subtle connections can ease the fear of death itself. It suggests that although our physical forms leave this world, something intangible, love, memory, or shared energy, lingers and continues to influence our lives. This belief, whether based on personal faith, cultural tradition, or simple intuition, can provide solace during times of mourning. And beyond comfort, it can spark a deeper appreciation for the bonds we still enjoy among the living. The quality of our relationships gains urgency and value when we remember that every moment shared is potentially a memory in the making. Next, let's look at the second insight, near-death experiences, commonly called NDEs. Picture someone lying on a hospital bed, clinically dead for a moment, only to come back describing vivid encounters that defy our usual frameworks of reality. Some recount a tunnel filled with light, or a sense of unconditional love so profound that words fail them. Others describe reliving every major action of their lives in a kind of life review. They witness not only what they did, but how those actions impacted others, feeling, if only briefly, the joy or pain they caused. While skeptics might suggest these experiences result from neurological processes, the fact remains that the emotional aftereffects are strikingly consistent. People who return from such episodes often report dramatic changes, a renewed purpose, diminished fear of death, and a greater capacity for empathy. Consider a scenario in which a near-death survivor recalls seeing a panoply of interactions from childhood. They describe not just watching these moments, but feeling them, re-experiencing the exact emotional weight or happiness they once caused others. It's as if their consciousness expanded beyond personal boundaries. If you were to go through that, imagine how it might affect your approach to everyday life. You could become more attuned to the ripple effect of your words and actions, knowing that a careless remark might have a deeper impact than you realize. This sense of interconnectedness, of being deeply linked to everyone around us, can inspire extraordinary compassion. Researchers like Dr. Bruce Grayson have studied these phenomena in detail, collecting testimonies from hundreds of individuals. While science can't fully quantify what happens, the personal transformations speak for themselves. Many NDE survivors talk about an all-encompassing love or acceptance, as if they tapped into an underlying essence that hints at something beyond the physical plane. Whether you interpret these accounts through a spiritual lens or a scientific one, they raise intriguing possibilities about consciousness. Is it confined to the physical brain, or does it extend into realms we can't yet measure? More importantly, how can we integrate what these experiences suggest about empathy, personal responsibility, and love into our own daily routines, even if we haven't personally brushed so close to the afterlife? That leads us to the third insight: viewing life itself as a school, a place where each challenge, triumph, and unexpected event contributes to our growth. If death is the closing chapter of one volume, could there be more volumes after that? Or, if you prefer a more skeptical approach, what if all the lessons we learn here matter deeply anyway, because this might be our one shot? In either case, the mentality is similar. Earth is a classroom that offers lessons in kindness, resilience, creativity, and compassion. Sometimes those lessons come wrapped in difficulties. A betrayal by a trusted friend, a financial crisis, or a health scare. Other times, they arrive as joyful epiphanies. The moment you find a cause you're truly passionate about, or discover a deep sense of connection with another person. When you adopt the view of life as an ongoing education, hardships don't seem random or punitive. They become catalysts for introspection. For instance, if you find yourself repeatedly in the same type of conflict, it might not be bad luck, but rather a recurring theme you're meant to work through. This shift in perspective can transform frustration into curiosity. What is this teaching me? How can I grow from this? Underlying many spiritual traditions is the idea that our souls, or our deepest selves, come here to evolve, to refine qualities like patience or empathy. Even a purely humanistic perspective can appreciate the idea that challenges pave the way for personal development, forging resilience and depth of character. The school of life metaphor also nudges us to consider how we spend our time. If we're here to learn and grow, we might prioritize experiences and relationships that push us towards self-discovery. We might step out of our comfort zones more often, applying the same energy to inner development that we commonly devote to careers or hobbies. Instead of viewing mistakes as failures, we can see them as data points, lessons in a grand experiment of self-betterment. As we do this, the idea of death becomes slightly less ominous. It starts to look more like a graduation day. Whether that graduation leads to further study in another realm, or simply marks the culmination of our mortal journey, the process itself feels purposeful. This brings us to the fourth, and perhaps the most expansive insight: reincarnation. The notion of being reborn in a new body after physical death is present in various cultures and spiritual philosophy. If you've heard stories of children recounting details of past lives, places and events they seemingly shouldn't know, it can sound like pure fiction, unless you dig into the research. One researcher known for investigating such cases was Dr. Ian Stevenson, who documented instances where children provided accurate information about people who had died before they were born. Whether or not you consider this conclusive proof, it raises captivating possibilities. Does consciousness carry over from one lifetime to another? Could fears or talents in this life be remnants of experiences from a previous one? Imagine the implications. If reincarnation is real, then many seemingly random events might be puzzle pieces from a bigger narrative. Patterns you notice in your emotional life, such as inexplicable anxieties, strong attractions, or recurring dreams, might be echoes from earlier chapters. This broader perspective can infuse life with a sense of continuity and accountability. For example, if you believe you'll eventually return in another form, how might that affect the way you treat others or the planet as a whole? If you're open to the idea that each lifetime is part of a long arc of growth, then even the pains and traumas you face can take on new meaning. They might be opportunities to heal not just the present moment, but something carried over through time. Of course, not everyone embraces reincarnation. Some people view it as unscientific, purely religious, or irrelevant to daily living. But even those who don't subscribe to it might find value in the concept of progress over multiple lifetimes. It encapsulates the human longing for second chances, for redemption, and for deepening wisdom. Whether you accept it literally or view it metaphorically as an invitation to continuously remake yourself in this single life, the idea resonates with our desire to grow beyond our limitations. To many, it offers hope that we're not defined by our mistakes, that evolution is always possible, and that what we do now matters beyond the immediate horizon. Now, take a moment to reflect on how these four insights, enduring bonds, near-death experiences, life as a school, and reincarnation, might work together. They each provide different angles on what happens when the body ceases to function, yet they converge in a shared message. Examining death can illuminate how to live more fully. In acknowledging the possibility that we stay connected to those we've lost, we become more aware of love's lasting power. By exploring the stories of near-death experiences, we see how consciousness might extend beyond what we normally perceive, urging us to treat each other with greater care. Embracing life as a learning process fosters resilience and growth, and contemplating reincarnation can encourage us to see ourselves as part of a much larger journey, where each life event, and even each lifetime, if you take it literally, is a stepping stone toward deeper understanding. You might wonder how to integrate all of this into your everyday routine. One simple step is to begin noticing how you speak about death in casual conversation. Is it purely a taboo, a joke, or something you dismiss out of fear? The language you use can signal where your deeper beliefs and anxieties lie. Another practical approach is to create small daily moments of remembrance. For instance, lighting a candle for someone you've lost, or taking a few seconds each day to consciously appreciate being alive. Meditation or journaling about mortality can also be eye-opening, as it gently peels back the layers of denial and shows you how your priorities might realign if you remember that life is finite. If you're finding these ideas resonate, it might be because they invite a sense of hope in what can sometimes feel like a bleak and final reality. At the same time, they encourage us to make the most of the time we have. After all, if connections can endure or repeat, then the love you share in this life may come back to you in surprising ways, now or in an existence yet to come. If NDE accounts have any truth, then perhaps compassion and kindness echo far more powerfully than we realize. And if life is a school, it's worth showing up to class prepared to learn. If you're intrigued by reincarnation, you might open your mind to the possibility that your soul's story is far from over. You can put these reflections into practice through small actions. For instance, the next time you feel anger towards someone, pause and consider how you'd view that interaction if you were in a near-death life review. Would your perspective change? Or, if you're struggling with persistent fears, try entertaining the idea that they might stem from something beyond your conscious memory. Whether a past life, if you believe in reincarnation, or an early experience you're only beginning to understand. Rather than seeing fear as an enemy, you can treat it as a clue, leading you toward a deeper sense of yourself. These aren't about having all the answers. They're about allowing the questions to guide you toward compassion, growth, and a gentler relationship with mortality. Many people also find it helpful to share their reflections with others, either in a group that discusses spiritual themes or online communities that explore similar questions. Sometimes, simply hearing another person's experience can trigger an inner recognition you didn't expect. Maybe their story of feeling a departed loved one still nearby, or how they survived a near-death scenario and came back with a renewed sense of a purpose. If you feel moved, consider leaving a comment or sharing your own story. By entering that dialogue, you deepen not just your own process of understanding, but also help others who might be grappling with the same questions. Now, let's circle back to the core. We began with the suggestion that death, often shrouded in fear, might hold the key to living a more fulfilling life. The paradox is that when you open yourself to these possibilities, you might find your everyday experiences become brighter and more meaningful. You realize that a morning walk, a shared meal, or a word of kindness can carry a gravity you once overlooked. When you remember your time is finite, you might become more decisive about chasing your passions, starting that creative project, calling an old friend, or volunteering for a cause you care about. Or you might slow down, giving each moment the attention it deserves, knowing you won't get the exact same opportunity again. This approach can lighten some of the existential dread many people feel. Rather than a cold finality, death becomes a poignant reminder to live. Each of the 4 insights suggests that the story doesn't end with our last breath. Even if you view these ideas metaphorically, they can still enrich your perspective. The truth is, none of us can say we have the final word on what awaits us beyond the threshold. But we can decide, here and now, to treat life as an adventure, an education, and a chance to shape the narrative we leave behind. If you're still with me, you're likely sensing a mix of curiosity and reflection. In that spirit, here's a gentle invitation. Take a moment today, ideally in a quiet place, to reflect on which of these insights resonates most strongly with you. Is it the idea that love remains, even when the body is gone, offering solace through continuing bonds? Or is it the notion that glimpsing the brink of death can radically alter how you see yourself and treat others? Maybe you're drawn to the metaphor of life as a classroom, or you feel a spark at the thought that reincarnation could place this lifetime in a grander cycle of growth. Whichever insight resonates, ask how you can live it out. What small shift in perspective or action could make it more real in your everyday life? If it helps, you can even make a quick note or voice memo about what comes to mind. Documenting your insights can turn a fleeting realization into a lasting guidepost. And if you feel called, share your reflections in a comment section or with a friend you trust. There's something powerful about voicing these ideas, especially in a culture that often avoids talking about mortality. You may be surprised at how many people are on a similar wavelength, searching for a safe space to explore the deeper mysteries. Of course, this is just the beginning of a broader exploration. Some might delve into sacred texts, meditation practices, scientific studies of consciousness, or cultural ceremonies that honor ancestors. Others might focus on counseling or therapy to make sense of personal grief, fear, or curiosity. The path is yours to shape. Yet, no matter your preferred route, each small step can contribute to a life lived more fully, with less regret and more awe at the tapestry of existence. Before we wrap up, consider how you feel about engaging further. If you'd like to dive deeper into topics of consciousness, personal growth, or the spiritual dimensions of psychology, feel free to stay connected. Hit the like button if this exploration resonated with you, and consider subscribing to continue journeying through questions like these. The more we open ourselves to honest reflection and dialogue, the richer our shared insights become. To close, I offer one more reflection. Every moment you spend alive is an opportunity to appreciate the fragility and wonder of existence. Death may be the final chapter of our physical form, but it could also be a portal to continued journeys, or, at the very least, a profound reminder to cherish what we have now. Whether or not you believe in something beyond this life, you have this chapter, and that's reason enough to be grateful. So thank you for being here. May these 4 insights encourage you to look more gently at the inescapable truth of mortality, and, in turn, to embrace with greater warmth and purpose the life that's here, pulsing right in front of you.